welcome to Talking GPA. My name is Amy, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about academic struggles and all about that. So let's get straight into it. So one of the things that I struggled with was group projects, and if you know anything about group projects from high school or middle school, you really just have to work together to be able to come up with something and then present it. And most of the time, you really rely on other people, and at the end, these people do not care to be able to help you out as well. So, in high school, I kind of understood that at the end of the day, I was going to be doing most of the project probably, if anything, all of it. And so, in college, I was like, oh, these other people are going to want to put the same effort that I am into projects because they're an adult now. Psych, okay? Guys, that is a complete lie. They do not care. And you're going to end up doing the project by yourself as well, okay? And if anything, you might be lucky with one or two people that really care about the grade and do their own work, but for the most part, you're on your own, kid, because I had this project and you don't really communicate. You text someone, you're like, okay, well, here's my Instagram, here's my phone number. Let's talk about what we're doing, and that's gonna be it, right? Well, that is it actually. So you guys stop talking, and then you just basically do your own thing and then hope they do their part, and then that's it. And when you show up to present your presentation, you're really surprised as to what is on the document, because the night before, there was nothing. There was nothing until 12 a.m., where suddenly this person just appears and then writes a whole bunch of something and got the project done somehow. I had a project for one of my classes where the guy wasn't even there to be able to be part of our group. The teacher just picked him. He was like, yeah, he's going to be part of your group, okay? And we're like, okay, great. We don't even know what he looks like. And then the following week, we're like, well, let's start talking about a project. And me and my other partner were like, okay, well, we know what we're doing. We're just going to give this other guy these final 2 slides. And we got his information because of the teacher. And so we texted him being like, hey, so these are your slides for your project. Do them, okay? He's like, great, yeah, I'm going to do them. No response. Literally no response. The following week, we're like, okay, well, I finished my slides. Did you finish yours? Yes, I did. Okay, great. This guy never showed up to any of these classes. In person, 0. I don't even know what he looks like. I genuinely do not know what he looks like. And we literally told our teacher, we're like, well, what do we do? And he's like, well, if he's here, then he's here. And if not, well, then he's not going to get the grade for participation. And we're like, okay, yes, but you're grading based on the presentation as well, and the information is part of it. So what do we do for that part? And he was like, well, if he doesn't do them, just put a little bit of something and then that'll be it. And we're like, okay, thank you. That's, you know what? I don't know why I didn't think of that. Just do the work. You're right. My bad. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it either. So we're just going to wait. We're going to wait a little bit. And if the day before he doesn't do them, well, then we'll just step in, finish the slides for a little bit, and then we're going to present them. And so I was like, great, wonderful. Any message, any text message? Nothing. Literally no response from him at all. And so I'm waiting. I've been waiting. The presentation's on a Thursday or something, and literally the whole week there is nothing on the last 2 slides. And then suddenly, I was like, well, it's 11:30 p.m. I think I'm going to do the slides now. I feel like he's not going to do them. I might as well, get into the document and then start, doing the slides. I go in, and then suddenly, I see his little icon, and I'm like, wow. Okay, so now you decide to do the slide. Now you decide. So you didn't communicate with us about the fact that you were going to do the slides now. It's 11:30. The presentation is technically due at 11:59. And we're presenting this tomorrow. So we're like, I was literally in the slides just looking at what he was doing, and I'm just like, great, wonderful. And it was like 11:50 or something where he finished it, and I was like, great, I'm gonna submit it, we're done. Sleep, wake up the next day, go to class, and then me and my partner were like, well, where is he? I don't see him in class. And I was like, well, he did his slides. And then we look around, and then we look at our teacher, and we're like, he's not here, teach. He's not here. I don't know what you expected from the last 4 weeks that he just didn't show up. He wasn't going to show up this time. And so then he's like, well, just present his slides. And we're like, okay, we don't really know the information that he put, so we're just going to read it off the slides. And he was like, great. And so we step up, we present, we start talking about our slides, our information, and then we get to his slides, and then we just literally look at the board, and then we just read it word for word, because we didn't practice before. We're not practicing his slides before, because obviously we assumed he was gonna be there. We knew he was not gonna be there. But we looked at the slides, we read them word for word, and then we're like, that's it. We're done. That's our presentation. Hope we get a good grade. Thank you. And I think we did. I think we got like an all right grade. But just for advice, just know that people are going to wait until the last minute to be able to do their slides. So if you have a presentation or a group project that you really need to do with other people, keep in mind that these people do not care about submitting it on time or finishing early. They just care about getting it done. You know, they're not really focused on like, wow, if I just do the work like a week from now, then I don't have to do it for a week. You know, I have it done. I can focus on other things. They don't care about that. Okay? So remember that they don't care. These people do not care. And it's the same thing with other assignments where it's like discussion posts where you need to talk to other people and be like, great post. What I loved most about your post was A, B, and C. But something I don't agree with is D. And I wonder if question mark, you know, that's your discussion, okay? And if you submit your assignment, your discussion post, early, just be expected to not receive a response or have other people do their discussion post on time until the day of, because that's just how people do it. And good on you if you do it early, but just so you know, you're gonna have to wait until the literal day it's due to be able to respond to someone else's discussion post, because everyone literally decides to submit their homework the day of. Me included. I am responsible for that. I did do that a lot of the time, but most of the time, like for group projects or things that I rely on other people for, I do them early. And so every time I did them early, I really, for some reason, felt like an abusive relationship where I just waited for them to change, and they never did. So just expect that that's just gonna happen, and you're gonna have to be okay with it, unfortunately, because there's nothing you really can do about other people, especially if you're doing online classes, because online classes, you're not seeing these people in person. They're mostly discussion posts, which you rely on other people to respond to your post and you respond back to theirs. And it's mostly like a team effort sometimes with online classes, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do my post so that you could do your post underneath and respond to mine, and then answer a question from mine and answer a question from yours. It's a lot of that, and most of it will be the literal day that it's due. if you decide to go to college or university, your classes might be online, and they most likely will be all of them, unfortunately. I'm not saying all of the degrees are the exact same where every single one of them will be online. That is not true. I am not saying that. I'm just saying that some degrees might have only online classes and maybe one or two in-person classes. That's just how it is. I genuinely do not know why, but that's just how it happens. And for my fall semester this year, they're all online. All of them. And I don't know if it's like because I'm like in my senior year or because I don't know, I was too late, but I was early. I don't know. But all my classes are online, and it's going to be interesting because I'm going to be there in person. And it really sucks because I'm spending this money to be able to get an education in person and be able to really feel the learning coming in, but it's not happening in person. It's happening online, where it's a lot easier and you're more susceptible to cheat and or just procrastinate on homework. Like this fall and spring of 2024-2025, it was a lot easier for me to have 2 session C classes because they were in the whole year. So it would be like the whole semester. And then I would have 2 session A classes and then 2 session B classes, which session A would be the first half of the semester, and then session B would be the second half of the semester. So that like in total, I would only be taking 4 classes at a time. And for me, that was a lot easier for me to be able to get the credits that I need while also having like a good schedule where I'm not stressed about having 6 classes at a time. But now that in the fall, I'm looking at all my classes that I need to take, since I'm almost finished with my major and I have a minor, I need to be able to take my classes for my degree as soon as possible. So, as I was looking at them, all of them are online. And so that really sucked because I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to be in person and taking online classes. But that'll be okay. So, just be expected to have online classes. You might only have one in-person class and like the rest are online, and that's just how it is. And that's rough. So that goes into my other thing where it's like, would you rather take in-person classes or online classes? And with that, it's really like, how do you prefer learning? And if you do have the option to be able to take an in-person class or an online class, it's like, do you want to be able to do things on your own? And basically you are in charge of your own learning? Or would you like a little bit of guidance and it'll be mostly like just lectures when you have an in-person class? So it's like, which one would you rather do? And I like an in-person class because I get to learn what's going on with like what I'm learning in. And for some reason, like when the teacher is like talking about the chapter, it makes sense in my brain rather than like when I read it the first time and I'm like, okay, I read the whole chapter. I read the 2 chapters that I needed to read and I still don't know what's going on. And so once I finished that, then I went to the lecture and then I was like, oh, I see where that makes sense. And then I could also ask questions in person because for some reason I feel like if I'm writing an email, I'm definitely not getting a response back. Or if I am, I probably worded it in the wrong way where they don't understand my question and I'm too awkward to be able to tell them like, oh, that's not what I was asking. I was actually asking if this is it instead of that. But I never do that. I just really like, I rely on myself heavily. And so if you take an online class or an in-person class, just make sure you communicate with your teachers, your professors, because you need to get the most out of your money. And so if you don't know something, I just ask them. Just ask them. For in-person classes, you will take a final and a midterm in person. These do happen in person, where you really rely on your noggin, your brain. And if you take an online class, you might do a lockdown browser, which basically you can't get out of the browser where the quiz is, and you might have to have like a cam, so they'll like take your camera's gonna be on, and then you show them your ID. You're like, this is my surroundings, look at my room, and then you put it back, and then you take the quiz. And while you're taking the quiz, the camera's on, it's recording you, and if you do any weird movements that look like you're cheating, like looking down, looking side, looking up, looking like past the camera, I don't know, like any signs of cheating, it'll detect it, and then it'll think that you're cheating. So be careful of that. If you think like, if I do take an online class and it does have like webcam enabled, think about your eye movements, think about how you really think, because I feel like I'm very expressive when I think. I'm like looking up to the side and being like, I wonder what this question is. And I fear that I look like I'm cheating. And also, your internet might just like disappear while you're taking a quiz. And that is the most terrifying experience I think I've ever experienced, where I was taking a math class and my final, I had to like do the webcam thing. So I showed my ID, and then I showed my room, and then I put it back down. And as I was taking my quiz, I finished it, and my internet just decided to go out. It literally left. I don't know where it went. It left for a good while, and the loading screen was happening. As I was submitting my exam, I submitted my exam, it was doing the loading screen, and it was like, please do not refresh or like exit out or whatever, because it was processing my information. And so my internet left, went back, came back, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do, because it's like submitting, it's in the middle of submitting, but if I refresh it, then I'm scared that it's gonna submit it and it's not, like, something didn't catch at the end. Like, I'm scared that one of the questions didn't fully, like, okay, you picked A, and now you get to submit it. I was scared that it's like, oh, it went out while I was answering the last questions, so those answers are not there, and then suddenly my internet's gone. And also, this is where the procrastination came in. I decided to take the test at around 11 p.m. when the test is due at 11:59. So, and also, teachers are very much like, make sure you have enough time just in case your internet goes out, because if you text me and it's late at night, I will not respond, especially if it's when it's due, because I'm not going to be awake. Why am I going to do that? And I literally experienced that, and I literally was like, I'm going to text her. I'm going to text my teacher. I'm not expecting a response, but I need to tell her that I'm not sure, because the camera was still recording this. And so I'm like, I'm using my phone to be able to text you, to be able to make sure that this submits on time. And if it doesn't, then we'll need to figure something else out. And so I was literally telling that to the camera. I text her, I'm like, hey girl, so my internet went out, it came back in, it's loading the screen. I'm scared that if I refresh it, it won't catch all of the answers that I got. And I would like to figure out a way to be able to get the points while also, doing the exam. So if it doesn't catch all of them, I would like to be able to figure out a way to be able to get those points. Send that email. And then I literally was like looking at my computer. as I was about to use my mouse to be able to refresh the page. And I was moving the mouse, it literally stopped refreshing, and then it left the screen, and it was like, you are not able to return to home. And I was like, I felt so relieved about that, because I was like, thank you so much. I was able to submit it on time. And so then I sent her a follow-up email being like, hey, it's all good. It's all good. I actually don't need you right now. So make sure that you do your quizzes on time. You might not. And you're not the only one who doesn't. So that's okay. This is a community, okay? We all learn from our mistakes, and if not, well then we're here with each other being like, it happens to us. It happens to us. Because that did happen. And I'm pointing over to my computer. I did put my computer and take a test at 11 p.m. And that wasn't the last time I did it. I definitely did that maybe 2 more times. Because, I don't know. I genuinely don't know why I didn't do it on time. But I was like, oh, I forgot. I have an exam that I need to do. So I'm going to do it right now. So make sure you take your time to be able to fully do your exam and have like a little bit of like a window where it's like, just in case something happens, you can fix it on time, because it's a struggle. It's hard. And then going into an in-person class where you have to take the final in person and really use your knowledge and your brain to be able to remember the whole class in one piece of paper with 50 questions. And I feel as though, even though I like an in-person class, for me, it's a lot harder for me to be able to get information and it stick to my brain. Because I might read something and I'm like, I fully understand it. But the moment you quiz me on it, and you want like this specific answer, and it's not multiple choice, because some finals are not multiple choice. You answer them. You write it in and you answer them. And for me, my type of like brain, it's really hard for me to remember like specific information. I remember like the overall information, like, oh, this is the event that happened, but I don't remember the exact, like, oh, this person did this during the event, and then this happened with the other person at the same event. These, like, specific details are not, I don't keep them in. I just think, like, okay, this event happened, and people were upset. But the moment you get quizzed on that, you really have to figure out what information is important to be able to remember and what information isn't, that you just need like a good overview, and that's it. And so for one of my recent finals in the fall, I basically had like index cards, and I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this, index cards that were like about maybe like this thick. Like I would say, I don't know how much this is. I would say maybe like 3 inches thick of the whole, like the literal whole class. And I tried so hard for like a good 2 weeks to be able to like memorize and like learn every single one of these. And it got to the point where I just felt so drained by just looking at the exact same thing and flipping it over and being like, no, I got it. No, I got it. No, the thing I just flipped over, I do remember that information. Can I recite the information back to myself? No. And this is where, like, being able to study in an effective way, I still haven't been able to figure that out. And I'm literally a 3rd year. And I don't know if it's like, I don't know, I'm too lazy, or I just haven't found the right way of studying. But for me, I've tried like a lot of different ways. I've tried writing it down. I've tried saying it out loud. I felt like a maniac literally reading a whole bunch of chapters out loud by myself, because I thought, if I say it out loud, then I can hear it back to myself. And then I'll be able to receive the information back. Nope, it did not work for me. It might work for you, but definitely did not work for me. I tried index cards, which were all right. The moment I flipped the test over, blank. Literally, everything that I remember, everything that I just studied for, blank, forgot, literally left my brain and went to, I don't know, a vacation. So that happened. I've tried like flashcards where I just like ask myself a question and hope I know the answer to. I couldn't do that. I tried to highlight my chapters. Couldn't do that either. I've just done a whole bunch of different methods and those haven't worked for me. But if I say them out loud, they might work for you if you don't know a way to study. You can use one of those. I'm not saying they might be the most effective, but I'm saying that they might help. But studying is really weird when you go to different classes because some classes might require you to actually remember like specific details. And I really enjoy a good study guide. I love when the teacher is like, here's a study guide for the exam, because even if they might not be the right, like the actual information that I'm going to be learning about, or I'm going to be quizzed on, it's the information that I need to remember. It's not the information, like, if it's not information that's not on there, then I don't need to remember that because it's not as important. I will remember, again, overview, but the thing that's on the paper, on the study guide, those are the things that I need to really, like, memorize. Because even though it's not like, oh, what did this event, what did, I don't know, this event do? And that's like, oh, okay, we learned about this event, so I'm going to really read the event, have a good grasp on it, so that I know that for when I take my final, that's the event that I'm going to be remembering, if that makes sense. But class, there are a lot of different ways that teachers decide to do a study guide or like work on their final or tests. So it really just depends on teacher with teacher, because my first teacher, when I took a final, it was like, oh, it's a group final. And basically you have to, because I'm a psychology major, basically here's a case study. You work with other people to come up with the diagnosis and treatment for this person. Great, wonderful. It was a little confusing because a lot of different people have different answers for what they think it is. And so it's like, do you want to fight other people on what the diagnosis is? Or do you want to hear them and then tell them, like, do you think you're wrong or do you think they're wrong? And that's its own, like, difficult situation with, like, working with others, where it's like, when do you want to actually chip in and be like, I think I'm going to push for my answer and I'm going to tell you why your answer is not the right answer. Or you're like, I might be wrong, so I'm going to let them talk. That's the trying to figure out where you stand in a group project. But then my second final was an in-person final, and I basically had to memorize probably the whole class, and that's the 3-inch thick index cards. And that one was, I would say, the hardest final I ever had to take, because even the teacher wasn't very specific on what it was that we were learning. It was just, or we were gonna get quizzed on. It was just like, it's gonna be chapter 5. Okay, you're gonna be reading about chapter 5. You're gonna be getting quizzed on chapter 5, and then you're gonna be quizzed on terms in general. Any terms? Yes, any terms. And also probably not most of the book. And it's like, okay, these aren't very specific. You're not telling me I'm getting quizzed on like this piece of information, A information, rather than B information. You're not telling me that. So I'm basically being like, okay, I'm going to be trying to memorize A information and B information. And so that was so hard to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to do my best to study for this exam where I really don't know what's going to happen. And then literally I get into the exam, the final, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't study for these questions. I studied for the rest of, I really did the opposite of what the final was. And my grade was a B, and I know, you're gonna be like, wow, a B is so hard. It's so hard to be you. A B, oh man. But for me, the significance of an A is way different than the significance I have with a B. And so my parents always made me make sure to have A's. And so the moment I see a B, I'm heartbroken. I'm devastated. And I was like, I'm going to get an A in this class. And as I was inputting my grades, and I'm like, what do I need to be able to have an A in this class? For my final, I needed to get 100% on my final to be able to get an A in the class, which was impossible. Because the moment I opened that final, I said, oh, I'm not getting an A. And I literally, throughout the whole taking the test of the final, I was just trying to come to the acceptance part of grief where I'm not getting that A. And that's okay, because I'm trying my best. I really tried. And if I think about it now and I'm like, I could have done more. No, I couldn't have. I did what I thought in the moment was the most I could do, and that's as good as it's gonna get. And so when I flipped over that page and I was like, yeah, no, I'm done for. At that moment, I was like, I did the best I could. I genuinely did the best I could. I'm getting a B. That's fine. I'll be all right with a B. It's fine. And that's exactly what happened. I did not get 100%, and I did not get an A on my final. I think I got a B, and that's okay. I literally was like, I'm done. I'm done with this class. I'm done with trying to study. And one of the things that I look at when I'm taking a class is making sure that these professors are good professors. Because you might think all professors are good professors. Okay? Just so you know, all professors might be good professors in some type of way. But some professors might not be the best professors for the way that you learn. And your way of learning might be really difficult when you have a difficult teacher. And you have a teacher that doesn't explain things the way you like things to be explained with. And so that's why, like, Rate My Professor is a really good website to be able to look up the teacher that you have and see, like, what their reviews are. And especially once you finish that class, go back into Rate My Professor and give your own experience and rating, because you're going to be able to help other people be like, okay, I'll take that class. If you're saying that class was that good, then yes, I'll take it. And if you're saying that class was actually really confusing, it was hard to understand the material, the teacher didn't really care about what we were learning about, it was lecture after lecture and having to have like really confusing conversations. If it's like that, then you know, hey, I'm going to step back from that teacher. I'm actually not going to take that teacher. And especially because this happened to me, some of my teachers were not on Rate My Professor. And so I just went in blind being like, I hope this teacher is good. Because no one really knows. I don't know if this teacher's new or people were just like, no, I'm not going to rate him. But that happens. And you're just going to go in blind. And then the moment you leave, make sure you use Rate My Professor, because it's a good website to be able to see what other people think about their teachers. And then you learn, like, what ways of teaching they are, and are they compatible with your way of learning? And if they're like, oh, it's an easy class, do you want an easy class, or do you want to be able to have like something difficult and challenging? So really balance how you want that to work out. So something that I feel like is a important topic to talk about is procrastination, because I feel like everyone goes through it in one way or another, whether it's putting off a test at the last minute or not doing your homework because you just want to be able to recover from whatever it is, you're struggling mentally. These are all things that are completely normal, and it might be hard to overcome procrastination because you like it. It's enjoyable. I could definitely say that it's enjoyable for me to procrastinate. I do have this back in my mind like looming sense of threat where it's just like, hey, you really should get on that. And I still continue to procrastinate. So it's hard to be able to get out of bed and do homework, or get out of bed and walk your dog. Procrastination is hard and easy. It's really weird to explain it because you're actively knowing that you are quote unquote not supposed to do this while also continuing to do the exact same thing that you want to procrastinate on. And I feel as though that is also like a sign of like you need to take a break. And especially when you're in school, there are moments where you need to take a break. You need to be able to go outside on a walk. You need to be able to breathe for a little bit because you have homeworks, you have finals, you have tests, you have projects, you have quizzes, you got finals. You got so many things going on that you forget to be able to be a person and breathe and take care of yourself. Because let me tell you, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to complete those things. And that's where procrastination takes place. Because you're not going to want to do it. Because you need to take care of yourself. But while you need to take care of yourself, you're thinking about doing those things. So it's a cycle. And the way to break that cycle is to make sure that you take care of yourself. You drink water. You eat your meals. You sleep. Okay? The amount of times that I've taken all-nighters, that I made sure that I'm just gonna do my homework now. I'll eat later because I don't need to eat right now because I know that I need to finish this homework because I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone. And that deteriorates your body. It deteriorates your brain. It just worsens your whole system to the point where you won't be able to finish those projects and homeworks and assignments and tests because you didn't focus on the main thing, which is your health. So, go outside, walk, breathe, do something. Even if it's just stare at a wall, just something that isn't the main thing that you need to work on. Because if you're gonna procrastinate, at least take care of yourself while you're doing it. Don't just like be scrolling on your phone endlessly and wonder like, I wonder why my life isn't like that. Or, oh man, I wish I could be going to that trip that other people are going on. Because that's not healthy. You're not taking care of your mind. And therefore, you're procrastinating, but also making things worse. If you overload yourself, you're going to get to the point where you're going to break, and it's not going to be good because it'll be when it's most important. And you need to be at 100% when it's important. I struggled with taking tests so frequently, especially studying and like reading chapters. Chapters are boring. Literally opening a book, and even it's online, like opening the freaking tab and being like, I have to read chapters 5 through 7 and I have to remember this information. It is exhausting. And so as I keep on reading, it's gonna keep getting worse because I'm like, I'm just gonna finish the chapter. I just need to finish the chapter and then I'll sleep. But I'm not gonna once I finish the chapter, nothing's gonna stick because I didn't sleep. So therefore my brain's ready to sleep and it's not gonna want to be able to get more information and learn. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a little bit of what it's like in academic life. When you go to college or university, it's confusing. It's hard. It's it's a learning experience for sure. Besides learning about your degree and what you want to do in life, it's a learning experience on how you are as a person and how you function in society. It's really weird. So if there's anything you want to learn or you just have any questions, write them in the comments and I'll be sure to research them and tell you guys here. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.